I've got my parachute pants and my pair of shoot pants. Snap, parachute, shoot pants. Snap, shoot.
Welcome to ScapeChatz episode 24. I'm Alan, and I'm here with Magellan to discuss the sci-fi television show Farscape. This week, we're going to be covering Season 3, Episode 1, Season of Death, and Episode 2, Sons and Lovers. First up, Season of Death, which was written by Richard Manning, directed by Ian Watson, and aired March 16th, 2001 in the United States. Magellan, we're in Season 3, holy shit.
Whoa,
indeed. It's a big one. It's called Season of Death. I smell portentous titles. I'm excited, and this was a really interesting episode, a really good way to get us back into the swing of things.
Yeah, it sure was.
What did you think of it overall?
I liked it. It had that quality of I think this happens a lot in serialized television, where the pilot, or not the pilot, but the first episode of a new season kind of just resets everything to a new standard for this season moving forward. And I'm kind of two minds about that, because on the one hand, it fully undermines pretty much all of the tension or development of the Season 2 finale, which was incredible. By episode's end, it throws out the biggest thing that happened, which is that Aaron's son died. And I wish we could have sat with that and seen the ramifications of that a bit more. But on the other hand, it seems like the place that they're putting us is kind of where I want to be. Like, I think the creators know that as much as I want character deaths to matter, I also don't want Aaron's son to be dead. Yeah, she's so important to the core of the emotional stuff in this show that if you got rid of her for that long, it would really mess up the balance, I think, of like the characters and stuff. I think that's a good point, and it also applies to John's muteness or inability to speak going away within like a couple minutes of this episode. Like, this episode, you gotta at least praise it for doing the narrative loop-de-loops that allowed it to just clean up everything from the finale. Mm-hmm. It's just, like, all of the loose ends are just tightened up with a bug and closed up, and we're back into a much cleaner place where we can, like, see more things happen and more characters interacting. Yeah. So this episode primarily, it picks up directly where Daimi Dichotomy left off. And John is still on the operating table, and everybody's still on the hospital planet. Erin is still dead. She's been frozen. And Scorpius is the star of the show. I would almost argue that this episode primarily focuses on Scorpius. It's kind of interesting how they take this time to... Because, like, Daimi Dichotomy ends with him lashing out in that moment that we spoke about in the recap as, wow, this is Scorpius finally being legitimately... physically imposing and scary and like lashing out in a strong emotional way, whereas he's usually been very subdued. Right. And then this whole episode is him continuing to do that in these like uniquely Scorpius ways, because he spends a lot of the time mind controlling other people. He doesn't actually end up going that many places himself, which is really terrifying and kind of gives this episode a little bit of a horror movie vibe, which I think this show plays with a lot. Sorry, I'm listening to what's going on outside my window, and I have no idea what it is.
Yeah, that sounds riveting.
It sounds like a dumpster is eating itself.
I was going to say we should cut this, but we'll keep that. Yeah, so the first note that I have just in because I've started taking my own notes on the episodes.
Oh.
Yeah, or at least...
Mr.
And I have like
Mr. Literate over here.
Mr. knows how to read and write over here. Very impressive.
That's what literate means, Mr. Dictionary.
Oh, Mr. Dictionary, the book that has full of words and definitions. Is that what I am? I have pictures in here also. One of them is just the frame of Jothi and Chiana, which is like the first cut back to the ship. And I don't want it. I don't like it. I'm not a fan.
Yeah.
Make it go away.
Yeah.
And to be fair, they did, finally. But not in this episode. This episode has a lot of sexual tension between the two of them, and I just wrote fucking stop.
Yeah.
Because it's the grossest shit.
Okay, so we're why don't we start at the new stuff, the new title and everything?
Oh yeah, that's true. We got a new theme song.
Yeah, we got a new theme song, a new blurb, a lot of new things going on in just that bit.
There was the cold open, which I was like, okay, this is Farscape, and then you get to the theme song, and I love the new John Crichton monologue, the little voiceover. It's fantastic.
I don't know how I feel about it yet.
Why is that?
It's longer than the other one, right?
Mm-hmm.
I like the content of it a lot more.
Yeah, that's more what I'm getting at.
It feels much more compelling for him to be like. It also like explains the show a little better. To say, I want to go home, but also I know it's dangerous, but also space is amazing. Great. That's all you got to know.
Yeah.
And it kind of gets past the like a living ship full of strange alien blah, 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 blah. But the like effects and the kind of vocal stuff that they do with it is pretty cheesy. And then, yeah, it's just long. Like it's just kind of, it takes a while.
It drags a bit. I really like the way that they take the stuff, like you said, the living ship, and they changed some of the wording to kind of accommodate the fact that if you're watching season 3 of the show, you probably know what's going on. So he says, trying to stay alive aboard this living ship of escaped prisoners, and then says, my friends, which is just a little bit of like, all right, we're in it now. This is the show. You know, if you can hear me, beware. If I make it back, will they follow? If I open a door, are you ready? It's evocative, I think. Yeah. And I like that they know what they want the like tone of the show to be now, and they're getting to it. Mm-hmm. And that's even evident in Season of Death in general, is just this feeling of we need to get to a very specific vision that we have for the rest of the show. And I feel like at least these first couple episodes, as with most first couples of Farscape so far, are like getting to it. Because them by themselves are just okay. Like this episode kind of is like Dimey Dichotomy Part 2. Mm-hmm. Season of Death in and of itself is just a like, wow, we have to clean up a lot of plot holes.
Right.
And but some of it is like a lot of backpedaling. Like Tokat, the Diagnosin, is not dead. Oh, he's back. Oh, hi friend. Hi Tokat. Nice to see you again.
It's the last time. It's the last time I'll ever do that. I just listened to the one we did about Dimey Dichotomy, and I got annoyed with myself.
We're living and learning.
Yeah, so I'm right there with you, everybody.
And I mean, Tokat is also now actually dead because while this episode does primarily focus on Scorpius kind of manipulating the crew, there's also another Scaran, a 100% Scaran in this episode. Does that Scaran have a name is the real question.
His name is Groucho.
Groucho. His name is Ithrawan Plonek. Oh my god, is that real? Did I really just...
I guess.
That's a good name. Yeah, that's his name. Ithrawan Plonek, who I only identify as the Scaran with the great nipples. He's just got rock hard nipples throughout.
He's got fantastic nips.
And like his armor accentuates them, which is weird.
Right.
I'm just going to go through some of my notes real quick. We go real briefly back to Crichton's beachside mental prison, which is a fun... little thing that happens in this episode. It's a lot of Crichton's internal struggle in this episode was really good. I liked it a lot. The way that he sort of fought back against the remainder of Scorpius's neural chip that is in his head.
Right.
Because they make the point that like, and this is getting back into this show's obsession with clarifying important mechanics of things. The chip is out, and Scorpius straight up eats the chip, which is a really gross scene. He's like, yummy. How do I get data to put into myself? Snack.
Yeah, that
nibbles on that chip.
Was so cool.
It's a great touch, and then the little remainder of it that's in Crichton's head is still just kind of messing with him. So they say, "Why don't you just lie down here for a little bit and take care of yourself, and we'll protect you." In sort of a weird like escort mission situation. And inside of his head, he discovers that he is the master of his own domain, and he can manipulate the space around him. Who is it? I think it's Stark that tells him like, "You are able to fight back. You should not let this thing take you over."
Right.
And then from that moment on, he is the badass that he's always wanted to be. And best scene, maybe my favorite, like one of my favorite of those scenes was he takes him to like an underground fighting arena in his head and they like box for a little bit, and Scorpius like puts up his dukes like they're in an old-fashioned boxing match, and then Crichton kicks his ass, and then he goes yay, and then everyone in the crowd cheers for him in his mental crowd, and he dumps Scorpius in the fucking trash. He jumps on the trash. It's a very triumphant, Farscape-y way to show someone like conquering their mental troubles.
Right, and then it's also very Farscape-y for that to happen, and then for Stark to be like, "Oh, I just thought it sounded good. I didn't know that was going to work."
I was just trying to be inspirational. I didn't. Okay.
Yeah.
Whatever works. Rigel and the rest of the crew had a lot of good winter outfits. I really love thinking about, like, just talking about the outfits and props on the show. Like the Henson Creature Company, they're just so on point with like the puppet work, and a lot of them do like props and costuming, and it was a good choice. It was a neat choice to have everybody have their own like winter set. Like Dargo has like this sort of cheetah print thing, and Stark's is the best. Stark has like a full fur coat that he just has and wears, like it covers his entire body like he's in a bear, and then Rigel has a cool sweater, which is appropriate. Not a ton happening in the episode other than just like them protecting Crichton and Scorpius. We see him mind control Grunchlick. I think we pronounced it wrong last week.
But I think, what did we said Grunchulk?
Yeah, but I guess they very explicitly pronounce it Grunchlick, which is cool to hear.
Yeah, so Grunchlick was a bad guy.
Yep, he was a bad guy last episode, and then he hid in the ice thing, in the freezing pod, but then they found him, and they use him at this point in a really weird way, where Scorpius basically just puts on a HOTAS, which that reference is going to go over everyone's head, and he is able to mind control, just take over his brain. In a really gross scene, too, where he's, like, figuring it out.
Uh-huh.
And Grunchlick is like wiggling his hand as Scorpius is doing it, and then it's like kind of slow and drawn out, where it's like it's not working, maybe it's working. Grunchlick is clearly fighting back, and nope, Scorpius is in full control.
Yeah,
great scene. And then they use Grunchlick to basically try to convince the rest of the crew to kill Crichton, which is kind of weird that they had. Like he goes up to Zahn, and he's like, "You're the only one who has the will to put him out of his misery. Just go up and kill him." And she like runs up with the knife. That scene I didn't like. I thought that was a little melodramatic.
Yeah. I thought so too.
Because you know it's not going to work, and you're just like, all right, well, they're going to stop. This is silly. What else does he do with Grunchlick, though? I mean, like, he doing to Grunchlick, he does a lot of fucked up stuff.
Yeah, he makes him bite his own finger off.
What a scene.
Yeah.
He says, your mouth is for two things. It's for talking, saying what I tell you to say, and it's for this. And then he makes him bite his finger off.
What the fuck?
Which is not, like, that scene is not that bloody. It's just gross because of the sound effects, and obviously biting your finger off is disgusting.
Right.
But they don't revel in that violence, which I appreciate. I think it's mostly just, like, reminding you that Scorpius is in control to the point where he can make someone harm themselves, and it's kind of gross.
Right.
You're not alone now, Zahn, which is... Oh, yeah, so yeah, that was a Dargo line where he's talking to her about how she feels really sad. And I really think that Anthony Simcoe does some great acting in this episode. I feel like he's just earning his Emmy slowly. I don't think he gets one, but but alas, he's getting better. Like his acting skills have noticeably improved between seasons, or at least he's getting better lines, I guess. We got some good Chiana Jothi moment, or not good, but oh, okay. I wanted to ask you about this line. I texted you this line. This is cutting back to the Chiana Jothi like flirting, will they, won't they, garbage subplot.
Uh-huh.
She says, "I thought you were hungry," and he says, "I was until I started eating," which is not. That doesn't make any sense. It's just. I thought she said, "I thought you weren't hungry." Oh, that makes perfect sense. This show, I don't always hear everything. That actually makes much more sense.
I noticed the dubbing. The dubbing was way more noticeable to me
overall in the episode.
Yeah, overall, because I know Farscape has had a lot of dubbing, and that's always been the case. But for some reason, this episode in particular, the dubbing was really easy to notice, which kind of gave it this like ethereal. I felt a similar vibe to when we watched Look at the Princess of like, this is kind of like classic old sci-fi.
I wonder if that dubbing stuff at some point is partly on purpose, because I know people have said like dubbing in the past for the show is just because the sets are hot and stuff, and they have to put fans on, and they can't, get the best audio. But I do agree there is a weird vibe that comes from hearing that like distant sound, and it feels very otherworldly. But I like that. I think that's like one of the more unique aesthetic Farscape things. Yeah. Oh no, yeah. The last thing I wanted to say about the Chiana Jothi stuff in this episode was he like sounds exactly like his dad when he's mad.
Yeah. There are moments where Jothi shouts, and it's like, was that Dargo shouting?
Exactly. It's really weird.
Yeah.
I don't know if that actor... We actually need to look up the actor who plays Jothi, because I have a thing that I want to mention about him.
I did look him up.
Did you like Google him and see what he's been up to lately?
A little bit.
Matthew Newton.
A little bit, but maybe you have something.
Yeah, I guess we can just talk about it now. Matthew Newton, the guy who plays Jothi, is in the show for like a little while and then leaves after a certain point, I guess, probably. He doesn't seem like he has, or I think he leaves like next week because he, after the events of episode 2.
Yeah, well, he leaves at the end of Sense and Lovers.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, so when he leaves, like, the actor goes on to do some other stuff. But then, like, in recent years, he's, like, been in the news a lot for, like, he's, like, been in jail and kind of, like, I think he, like, sexually assaulted someone. Like, there's a lot of weird news if you look into some of it, which, again, right? Like, that's weird considering all of the stuff with Joffrey as the character. Here's an article. Matthew Newton denies he was admitted to expensive, and then the article is going to load, expensive psych ward. So, yeah, he's got a lot going on. I don't want to, like, talk ill of a person who's probably just, like, dealing with serious stuff, but, I mean, he may also just be a criminal. It's weird to think that, like, the actors that we're watching are, like, little teens on this show. Yeah. And then in the real world, they're, like,
I mean, yeah, that kind of forces you to ask the question of, like, how much do you want to know about the people who are performing this show? Right,
you're right. Because it affects the way you think about the show, too.
Right, because we make background info and set info such a big part of our discussion, or at least it has its own segment, because that's interesting to us. But at the end of the day, is that, like, a worthy and necessary part of analyzing the show, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's something to think about.
I think especially because the set stuff is, like, you know, it is in the present of the show. Whereas if we look into the actors' lives, like, they have lived beyond the show and they are doing things that may not line up. Yeah.
Definitely true.
That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Then so the episode picks up from basically we're at, like, the halfway point now. And then the second half is them, like, trying to escape because Crichton is awake. They've accepted that Aaron is gone and everyone's ready to leave. I kind of like that about this episode, that they're like, all right, everything's good. I think we can just go. Scorpius might still be here.
Yeah.
Because he came here on a cloaked ship, but we can probably we could leave and just go on with our lives. And then as they're leaving the room, the Scarin with the funny name, who kills Tokat, like, seriously, 100% definitely this time.
Yeah, Tokat's dead. Boo-doo-boo.
Boo-doo-boo. R.I.P. Is coming through one door. And then there's that really good, again, BioWare RPG moment where Crichton's like, you gotta go either through the hot door or the cold door. And Dargo's like, ugh, I hate the cold. And you're like, Dargo, you're gonna die, you fool! You almost gave up because you don't feel like going out into the cold, you silly man. But then they do go out. And that's also good world building because we learn, and they bring this up later, but, like, Luxons hate the cold. I don't know why, probably some physiology thing, but I thought that was interesting. And then we get some Zahn and Aaron stuff.
Hey.
Which, it had to happen. Zahn is on the ice planet. Stark has left her to go take care of Crichton and the gang. And Zahn finds Aaron's pod and says, wait a minute. Maybe I can bring you back. Let's try something. She puts her hand on the glass of the frozen pod and goes into Aaron's head.
So what?
In a beautiful scene.
Yeah, what prompts her to do that again? She's, like, inspired by something. Like, oh, if that could work, then this could work. Right?
Yeah. I can cut this. I'm going to look.
Maybe it was, like, if we could save John or something. I don't remember.
Yeah, something like that, where they're like, oh, if John can be woken up and brought back, and, like, I clearly have all these mind meld powers, and maybe I can do this with Aaron. Yeah, Aaron, she does that. She puts it, and then there's this beautiful scene inside of Aaron's head where Zahn is in there, and Aaron's, like, on a throne with perfect flowing hair.
Yeah.
And she just is, like, silent, and Zahn's like, do you remember who you are? And she's like, I don't know. She, like, says some really nice sort of, like, mysterious, ethereal stuff. I might find that line. Oh, yeah, and then they do Unity, because Zahn determines that if she does Unity with Aaron, she can basically give Aaron her life force, at least enough to bring her back to life, and that might probably, over time, kill Zahn.
Yeah, so it seems like.
Yes.
She's got a head fungus now, I guess.
Yes, she does have a sticky head fungus. The line, the exchange back and forth is in the quote section where they decide to do this. And it's a beautiful exchange. I'll just read it. Aaron says, Zahn, what is this? Unity, Aaron, the sharing of minds and souls. As our thoughts merge, you will understand. I understand that you shouldn't be here, Zahn. Nor should you. Why are you doing this? Says Aaron. And then Zahn, because I love you. More importantly, Crichton loves you. Which is so... Like, not enough people in real life say I love you. And then for just Zahn to be so comfortable with herself, like, we were reminded that is such a good, important, integral part of her character, that she's open with her emotions and her relations to other people.
Uh-huh.
And so that ties into why she does it. She does Unity with Aaron, and Aaron is back and better than ever, I guess.
Kind of.
Kind of. Wait, what's the not great thing about Aaron then?
She's just... I mean, there's some stuff that comes up in the second episode where it's like we're kind of resetting relationships a little bit.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That stuff it's excuses for them to do more relation stuff.
Yeah.
And to kind of like rebuild that stuff. I don't know if I loved that. There's that beautiful, beautiful shot, and you were talking about how you think Unity is one of the coolest effects on the show.
I think it's a great cinematic conceit.
Yeah, where they both, like, their faces merge, and I said it looks like a cool Queen album cover or something.
Yeah.
And their faces are, like, looking opposite ways, and there's a shot of, in, like, a blue and white room where Zahn and Aaron are unified. Really great stuff there.
And it must be pretty easy to shoot, relatively
You just film
speaking.
the two of them, and then you composite the two shots.
Yeah. So, that's just a great piece of inventive cinematography.
I love it, and I savor every Zahn moment because I know her. I just feel like her time is limited, and it scares me. And I'm like, if this is one of the last times we're going to see Unity, then good gosh. The show's running out of the things that make me happy, and it makes me sad as a result. That's how emotions work. So they get off, and they're all off. Leave it. Oh yeah, yes. This is the line I wanted to thing I wanted to mention. Really clever reminder that like all of the stuff that Erin got at the funeral is like still on her person. So she leaves. The minute she pops out of that stasis chamber, she has Dargo's Qualta blade and uses it to shoot like two dudes behind Zahn.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, yes, Erin's back. Okay, and she still has all the shit. This is great. And then there's a line that they talk about in the Farscape Illustrated 3 companion where it says, Aaron says, Zahn brought me back. She did a Unity thing. And I was just like, I never thought I would ever hear Claudia Black say the word thing. It's just like a very simple word for her usually very sophisticated language. Yeah. But there's a like plot, there's a reason for that, character detail for that. And then there's some cute stuff. So like Lieutenant Braca is becoming a important character, I guess.
Yeah, he's a cutie.
He's very cute. He's a lot of handsome peacekeepers on the show that work with Scorpius, including weird, gross smile guy.
Yeah.
The
forehead.
Yeah, forehead guy who's like, I'm the best pilot. I hate that plot contrivance where he's like, I'm the best pilot in the world. You can give me any mission and I'll be able to do it. Scorpius is like, yeah, really? Do it. Go pretend to be me. Get into the whatever, the destroyer or whatever, the thing that I was in, and fly away. And he doesn't tell him that like they're going to shoot at you. He's like, I want you to get away and see if you can go like deliver something. And the guy leaves, and then
the guy knows. The guy knows that they're.
Oh, the guy knows he's gonna die.
I don't think he knows he's gonna die. Like he's still confident in his ability to get away, but he knows that they're gonna shoot at him.
Okay, so they just got lucky when they managed to kill him.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, so here's the idea in Scorpius's mind.
Mm-hmm. So
first of all, I love that Scorpius has to like hide. I think that's really cool.
Yeah. Because all of his important like work means that his physical self has to be safe. So he has to keep his body safe all the time, even though he can like enact his will in a million different places.
Yeah. It feels like the kind of situation that you'd be in if you're doing like a James Bond video game or something.
Right.
Where like you have to hide in the control room and like use your thing, or not James Bond, but you know, like a stealth game, except the protagonist turns out is the villain.
Right.
It's just a cool setup. But so Scorpius is stuck in this room because Krace is out there with Talon, and Scorpius knows that Talon could blow their transport pod out of the sky in seconds, and he doesn't think they could outmaneuver Talon. This pilot guy is like, I'm the best. I got an A+ on my tests. I scored real well. Let me do it.
I'm the top of my class.
And Scorpius is like, and then Scorpius is like, no, we're gonna wait for something. I don't quite know what they're waiting for. I guess his command carrier, but that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, they're waiting for like a bigger ship or something.
Yeah, but the command carrier's in orbit, maybe.
Or are they also waiting for the Gamic base?
Oh, something like that.
I don't know why that wouldn't explain why they're leaving. That's like the twist at the end of the episode. That's not.
Yeah. Anyway, so they're waiting, and the guy's like, "Let me fly. I can do it." Scorpius is like, "No," and then it gets to the point where we kind of have to get out of here. So Scorpius tells the guy, "You can do it. You can go." And the audience for a second is led to believe that Scorpius is on the thing.
Oh, okay. So it's tricking us as well. That's why I was confused during that scene.
Yeah, and so there's the Scorpius's voice is broadcasting, and Krace is like, "This is for Aaron's son. I'm killing you, Scorpius." And then he shoots Scorpius, and then he's like, "Pilot, Scorpius is dead." And so then they think Scorpius is dead, and then it immediately cuts to Scorpius is still alive, and it turned out he made that guy go on his own as a trick.
Tricky.
Yeah, so I think Scorpius's idea was either, on the one hand, they're going to kill him and think that they've killed me, or they're not going to catch him, and they're going to think that I got away.
Oh, it's a win-win. Ah.
Right, it's a win-win for Scorpius.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that Scorpius is like using his own men and playing with their lives like pawns to like trick everyone.
Yeah, it's so cool. He's the best villain ever.
Ooh, he's a sneaky boy. I'm excited for more of him. We didn't get enough. Did we get any of him in the second episode? I don't think we did.
I don't think so. But another thing that I forgot to mention about the opening titles is some new people are credited now.
Oh, Wayne Pigram is now in the credits? Is that what you're going to say?
Yeah, and so is Lonnie Tupu. And so is, what's his Starkface?
Oh, I knew his name. I knew his name for a while.
Yeah, me too. I don't remember it.
I'm sorry, actor who plays Stark. Give me a sec. Paul Goddard.
Goddard, yeah.
Who was in The Matrix, by the way. Someone told me he was like an agent in The Matrix. That's pretty cool. He had hair in that. But anyways.
So those folks are in the credits, which means we're going to get a lot more of them.
Yes. Stark being a regular is interesting considering how much we've waffled on whether or not we like Stark.
Right.
Yeah, so that's good that they're in the credits because that means we're going to get more of those characters. And Stark left... Oh yeah, Stark has a cool moment where he leaves Grunchlick to stay frozen.
Yeah.
He like sees the thing and he's like, no, I'm not going to get you out of there, and just leaves him. So like, is Grunchlick dead or is he just frozen forever?
Good question.
I think
that's the moral quandary, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess. And they bring that stuff back with, like, the Interions or whatever, like the human likes that they use to get Crichton's parts. Whatever. We talked about that stuff last episode discussion. And then, yeah, we're on the ship at this point, and there's that really, really heartbreaking scene where Dargo sees Chiana and Jothi in the room, and he's like, wow, like, my two favorite people. Y'all are great. I love you. And I just wanted to cry a whole lot. I can't find the line. Usually when I think of a scene that's like particularly memorable, it's in the memorable quotes. That one is not. But it's a good line. Or good scene. And very sad. And then, yeah, last thing I wrote here, what a tight, clean premiere, mop-up duty like nobody's business, economic plot progression, everything's firing on all cylinders. And that was Season of Death. John, any final thoughts on the actual episode before we get into it?
Overall, I think it is a very tight episode, and it's really fun to watch. And again, it is annoying that they're sort of resetting the table, but they're also resetting it to a cool table. So it's hard to be upset with it. I think there are other shows that we've watched or that people out there have watched where these kind of resetting episodes end up in a place that's a lot more aggravating.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this works.
It succeeds in what it's trying to do. We'll bring it back to the Farscape Encyclopedia Project. Magellan, do you want to read the background information for this episode?
I sure do. The first thing here, of course, Lonnie Tupu, Wayne Pigram, and Paul Goddard are all added to the opening credits. There you go.
Yay.
New theme music, and Ben Browder's new opening monologue. Is that somewhere where you could read it?
The monologue?
Yeah. Why don't you pull that up while I keep reading here?
Mm-hmm.
Episode titles are now presented on screen.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I saw that. That was kind of cool.
So now episode titles, we can assume there's more thought that has been put into them.
Yes.
Than just like PK Tech Girl. So now they're saying Season of Death, and we can read into that title as having artistic meaning as opposed to just them sitting around and being like, this is the Season of Death. But that might be what it means artistically also.
Yes, exactly.
But something to keep in mind, that now titles we can justify reading into them more.
Do you want me to read the theme, the new monologue?
Yeah, let's just hear it without all the like editing and all that.
My name's John Crichton. I'm lost. An astronaut shot through a wormhole in some distant part of the universe. I'm trying to stay alive aboard this ship, this living ship of escaped prisoners, my friends. If you can hear me, beware. If I make it back, will they follow? If I open the door, are you ready? Earth is unprepared, helpless for the nightmares I've seen. Or should I stay, protect my home, not show them you exist? But then you'll never know the wonders I've seen. I got so cool.
Yeah.
No, that's the Angel theme song, you goof.
Thomas Holsgrove, our favorite guy who plays all the big guys.
Yep.
He plays both Tokat and the Scaran in this episode, so he has to murder himself.
In the morning, I was in the I'm pulling from the Farscape Illustrated Companion, just for people. In the morning, I was in the Tokat costume, Holsgrove recalls, and at the end of the session, we did the first shot of him getting zapped. Then in the afternoon, I went to the Scaran suit and did the shots. They had to stand in as Tokat for the actual shot. That sounds fun.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's a cool day.
Yeah, you get to play two characters that kill one of them kills the other one.
Yeah, and that's when you know that you have job security on this show. When they're like, but we could put two guys in different costumes.
But we want you to play both.
But we want you to be both, please. That's
Great
awesome.
work, my dude.
A deleted scene from this episode featured Rigel threatening Dargo.
Ooh.
For some reason, I guess. And it's included in the scene. The script is included in Farscape, the official magazine, issue 5. So apparently there's a Farscape, the official magazine.
Whoa. Cool, let's get it. Let's get it.
Yeah,
let's get an issue.
We haven't even scratched the surface.
Yeah, there's so much external stuff for the show.
Farscape, the official magazine, went for 12 issues.
Not bad. That's a year. Sure.
Yeah, it's a little over a year, I think, because they publish it bi-monthly.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's like 2 years.
2 years. To get Rigel into the correct position for one of the shots, Matt McCoy, the puppeteer, had to adopt an uncomfortable stance with his hand and arm at an unusual angle so that he would not be seen in the shot.
It's referring to the scene where Rigel is trying to do mouth-to-mouth on Tokat.
Maybe. That's possible. I'm not sure.
It's probably the one.
The "Can I get a hell yeah" scene is a deliberate imitation by Ben Browder of Stone Cold Steve Austin's catchphrase and throwing style.
Oh, that's really cute. I didn't know that. So he's doing, because that whole scene is very, John Crichton clearly likes wrestling, which is not surprising whatsoever.
Uh-huh.
And that's also funny that Stone Cold Steve Austin still wrestles and has a podcast. And people are we're referencing him back in the 90s, or in the early aughts. It's cute.
Early aughts. Dave Elsey always tried to make each Scaran, so Dave Elsey's a costume designer, I believe. Always tried to make each Scaran look a little different. And Plonek is the first army Scaran on the show. So
explains the nipple armor. Yeah.
I guess the ones we've seen before, the one we saw in Look at the Princess was like a diplomat, and the one we saw in Won't Get Fooled Again was like a more of a science or like a torture guy. So this guy is just a straight up.
I see.
Straight up, he's a soldier dude. And he looked way cooler than those other Scarans.
Yeah, he looked believable. He didn't just look like a thing with a big head mask.
Yeah, like previous Scarans looked like, I don't know, Yoshis or something. like wrinkly Yoshis, but this guy looked really cool.
Wrinkly Yoshi is my new chiptunes band.
2 different Grunch-like finger-chomping scenes were filmed. The gorier one was cut.
And it was like a Monty Python sketch, according to Ian Watson. Yeah, that really shows that scene is like a very they like held back. Which I think is smart.
Yeah, it's
the better. The next piece of trivia is contentious. You can read it though.
It's contentious?
Yes.
As in, it may not be true?
Yes.
Huh. The snow was created using soap flakes, which became uncomfortable for the actors to shoot in after 3 days.
Actually, according to the Farscape Illustrated Season 3 Companion, I have a different quote entirely regarding the snowflakes. Okay.
Here we go. Maybe the Farscape Encyclopedia Project is not a reliable resource.
Or because it's pulling from the DVD. Maybe the DVD is a bad source. The return to the ice planet caused practical problems on set. A snowstorm is a hard thing to pull off, but we got it working, Ian Watson explains. We experimented with different types of material to blow for snow and settled on finely chopped shopping bags to produce a plastic stuff that's blown out under jets of air. I don't know which one of those is true. They both sound reasonable. Is it soap or is it shopping bags?
Well, maybe they did both.
But why doesn't the wiki mention both then? I don't know. That's like a weird conflict. What's the word I'm looking for? Contradiction. That's a weird contradiction I didn't even think about.
Guy Gross reused the musical themes from Diamond Dichotomy in Aaron's Funeral Requiem, but changed it from a minor key to a major key.
Mr. Gross, you are my hero. You are the best composer on this show, and the only one. There might have been someone earlier in season 1. I don't know.
Yeah, I think so. The situation in this episode where Scorpius has to hide from Crayson Talon is an ironic reference to Mind the Baby. I don't think it's an ironic reference, but it is a role reversal, which is what this thing is trying to get at.
We call those parallels.
Yeah, it's not. I wouldn't call it an ironic reference, though.
That's the last piece of background.
That's the last one, that's right.
Hey, Magellan.
Yes, Alan?
Shall we take a quick Moyabag break and then come back to talk about Sons and Lovers?
Okay, that sounds great.
Woo!
Hey.
Hey everybody, it's Alan, and it's time for the Moyabag for episode 24 of ScapeChatz. We're going to go real quickly through this one, just knock them all out, read all the feedback, read all the quotes and the messages and all the great stuff that we get from you, the listeners. First up, we have a memo from... They say, I have very little to say about your goods. The won't get fooled again type comedy darkness is a thing in Season 3 especially, to the point where there's no true comedy episode. Season 3 of Farscape is 3 parts pain, 1 part silly, 2 parts weird, 5 parts nerve, and infinite heart. Add fire and mix. It's the season where they did whatever they want, very little network, and the themes are so complex and so good. It's also very dark and you wallow and it's great. They also recommend that we look up Farscape Con 2004 because the whole thing is on YouTube and it's a lot of Ben Browder and Claudia Black being adorable. The exact opposite of Season 2 opener happens in Season 3. You get the cliffhanger wrap-up and one breather episode, which we're going to talk about, and then it's just bang, bang, whimper, breather, bang, bang, character development, bang, breather, and then shooting like a rocket off to the finale. So, hell yes, Omens, that is exactly what I like to hear. The cast gets bigger, much bigger. Crichton cross Red Lady has zero basis in reality, but they try to push it anyway in a really bad scene. Chiana cross Red Lady, though, whoo, boy. Which, hey, I don't think this show has had a queer relationship on it yet, so let's get to the fun stuff. Everything you predict that isn't jokey, keep it in the back of your minds. In even some of the jokey ones, you drew a lot of parallels. We watch a lot of sci-fi television, and sometimes these arcs are fairly easy to predict, even though I already know that a lot of our shit was wrong. Thank you again to Owens. Angela Scangela said, picture, if you will, according to Magellan, was the worst, and she agrees and says, amen, brother, it's worse than Jeremiah Crichton by a lot. Fucking Maldus. I think at this point we could just call our whole entire podcast fucking Maldus. Although he's like gone now, so no more Maldus. That was Twitter, though. Moving right along to the Reddit threads. We got a message from Confoundicator, which says, the disturbing scene with Chiana and Crackers Don't Matter makes a lot more sense when you factor in that John was carrying the neural clone at the time. But they didn't bother to tell us this. They just showed us what happened and left us in the dark. I think the whole point was to show us the neural clone strongly influencing John before we even knew what we were seeing. It was to leave us asking, why did John go there? That was way out of character. WTF is going on? And I think this is the explanation for the makers of the show specifically going back to reshoot that scene much darker. Just my humble opinion. Cheers. Yeah, I mean, we have kind of talked this point to death, like what's up with the weird rapey scene in Crackers Don't Matter, and I think you can argue that, yeah, a lot of the weird stuff that Crichton does in those episodes is early hinting about the score. I feel like we've literally had this conversation like multiple episodes in a row, but it's probably also prompted that it keeps coming up because these are comments regarding the Season 2 recap, so we're talking about a lot of the same stuff again. But we're beyond that now, folks, so let's look to the future. Domain 101 is arguing with Exitron in here about whether or not the writers were actually testing to see how dark they could go, and whether or not that had to do with Scorpius, or if it was just, them being dark for darkness' sake. Blue Blaze Spear says it's been stated by many sources, including Kemper, that the Scorpius visions in Crackers Don't Matter were meant as a one-off thing, which is also really interesting, and when they later decided to do neural clones, the visions of Scorpius in that episode got retconned. If you want a definitive source on that, it's in the cool Farscape Facts extras on the Starburst Edition DVD, if you smartly don't want to take the internet's word on that one. And I think that is the main thing from that conversation that everyone was having. Blue Blaze Spear concluded that if something is not on the screen, then it's not necessarily canon. Everything on the screen of the show is canon. These are good points. And then Blue Blaze Spear had another long comment of their own, which said, wow, another season down. They go by so fast, and the second season of Farscape is such a weird one to me. While I'm watching the season, I'm thinking, wow, there are a bunch of not good episodes in here. But when I'm to the end of the season and I look back on it in a more holistic way, I think there was a lot of great stuff in there. Speaking of seasons, I know that a lot of the talk is that Season 3 is the best and Season 4 is not as good, but I hope that such talk won't dictate your perception. Obviously, it's all subjective. And speaking of things that are subjective, it happens to be my opinion that the back half of Season 4 has some of the best episodes in the entire series, particularly for viewers like me who really enjoy the more serialized aspects of this show. I think it's not that important which season everyone likes the most and which one we think is the best. I know for a fact that it's just getting linearly better, and whether or not Season 4 is, I don't think it's a huge step down from what I've heard. It's probably fine. We'll talk about it when we get there, though. It's all part of the journey. This episode of ScapeChatz was a fun one. We recorded this back on May 31st. You just heard us discuss Season of Death, which we liked a lot, and it's followed up by Sons and Lovers, which I'll let the past version of Magellan and I get to. But I first just wanted to say thank you for listening to ScapeChatz, and we really appreciate your comments. You can always leave them at reddit.com/r/Farscape, and you can tweet at us at ScapeChatz. You can email scapechats@gmail.com. We haven't gotten an email in a few weeks. And I'd like to ask y'all just to start spreading the show around if you can, beyond Reddit and beyond Twitter. Just if you have any other friends who watch the show, or if you know where else we should sort of plug the show, because I don't know where the Farscape fan base lives on the internet at this point, other than Reddit and like the Tumblr hashtags, which I keep meaning to post more stuff on our Tumblr, scapechats.tumblr.com, but I've been very busy, so that'll happen in time, and I want to also get to that audience, because I know there's plenty of you lovely people there, you scapers. And yeah, because I feel like we are getting to the point where our show is at its best, and the show itself, Farscape, is at its best in Season 3, so this is a great time for us to get a lot of new listeners. Sons and Lovers was also a pretty fun discussion. Earlier today, we recorded episode 25, actually, and that was a lot of fun. And so we are still only 1 week ahead of the podcast, so you can base whether or not it's okay to spoil stuff for us on that. We also have one request for a person to be on an episode yet. I'm not going to spoil which episode or who the person's going to be, but you know who you are, and we're very excited to have you when we get to that time. And if you are listening, and you're not that person, and you would like to guest host an episode of ScapeChatz, or just send us some audio, shoot us a clip of your voice on your best microphone at scapechats@gmail.com. We prefer MP3 files, but we'll take whatever you got. I think that's everything, though. I'm going to let us get back to the discussion. Have a good one, everyone. Bye-bye. And we're back. The second episode that we watched this week is Season 3, Episode 2, Sons and Lovers, which was written by Justin Monjo, directed by Andrew Prouse, and aired March 23rd, 2001 in the United States. Oh no, we hit another episode that I don't love. Oh no. Wow, you just harmonized with yourself there for a second.
I guess.
I'll just say, I didn't dislike this episode. I didn't think it was garbage. It's nowhere near as bad as some of the earlier stuff on this show. I just don't... The A-plot was so nothing.
Which one would you consider the A-plot?
The A-plot to me...
The storm thing?
Yeah, that's a good point. The A-plot to me is the storm and the like weird religious people and all of that in the bar with the weird Scottish guy.
Uh-huh.
All of that felt like they're getting to a new type of story of the week.
Yeah, but they're working out the kinks.
Yeah, they're learning.
I agree.
The B-plot was fantastic, though.
The Dargo stuff?
I thought, well, I mean, at least emotionally.
I think they ripped the Band-Aid off of a plot that could have been bullshit. Like, it could have been so horseshit for so long. And they just were like, it's done, which I really appreciated. Again, something that I said repeatedly during at least season 1 about Aaron Crichton, which I'm kind of backpedaling on a little bit.
Yeah.
But just the idea that Farscape does not jerk you around. Like, as soon as you know what's going to happen, they make it happen.
Yeah.
And so with the Dargo, Chiana, Jothi stuff, like, we knew that Chiana and Jothi were going to bang out. And then it was going to be weird. And, oh no, is Dargo going to find out? Oh, and he's going to keep loving them and being a sad guy. And instead of making that last forever, they got over with it in an episode, which I'm very grateful for, because we got the emotional impact of that plot, and now Jothi's gone. Yay!
We didn't have to learn to like him because they got rid of him. Yay! And now Dargo's a sad mess. No.
Oh.
Yeah, that stuff, it's so... We gotta get to it. We gotta get to Dargo being sad for a whole season. That's what we need right now. Or maybe not a whole season, but for several episodes. That's important. We want to be there. And they did it.
That's a more interesting status quo than Dargo doesn't know.
I actually, in the season 2 episode, or the recap, I predicted that it was going to be Pilot that ended up revealing it. But it's actually way more narratively appropriate that Rigel is the one who discovers it, because he gets off on watching Chiana and Jothi. That he's looking at all the cameras and then he sees them going at it. And he's like, huh. And it's not only that he gets off on seeing them, but he gets off on the ability to tell Dargo. He's just so happy that he gets to break that news.
Right.
And fuck up someone else's life. Rigel is such an interesting character on the show, because we talk about Stark is difficult because he feels like antagonistic to the rest of the crew and has his own agenda. But like that's fine, especially as they develop him more. Rigel, although he's like the comic relief in a lot of ways, is also just a very angry, grumpy old man who's in it for his own goals. And I really like that about him.
True. Very true.
And it works because when it really matters, if it ends up leading to him getting something, he will help the rest of the crew out. But when it comes to something like this, he's like, no, fuck, I'm not going to keep your dumb secret. I'm going to tell Dargo immediately.
Mm-hmm. It also must be really nice as a writer to have a character like Rigel who can kind of have any goal that you need him to have, as long, and then you can build in the reason of it benefits him somehow. Because on a lot of ensemble shows, you have to jump through the hoops of justifying why somebody is betraying somebody else, or, you know, why would this person do that, or this isn't believable. But with Rigel, not only can you kind of get him to do anything, but also the rest of the crew isn't going to write him off for doing something untoward because they also expect it of him.
They don't expect him to be a good guy, so when he does bad stuff, it's like, oh, yeah, that's Rigel, I guess.
Yeah.
I love... Rigel is really coming in. He's been into his own for a while. He did really good stuff in this episode. Really interesting stuff, rather. So, real quickly, let's just knock out the A plot, because it's really weird. Basically,
it's just dumb.
The gang is on some commerce planet, a commerce station, near the twin stations of Quell, actually.
Whoa, that's great.
They're there, yeah, it's a really great place. They're there to spend the money that they stole from the Shadow Depository, which, like, I don't know, put it in a savings account or something. Don't just spend it on alcohol and, like, get fucked up.
Also, they spent most of it on Dodapo, right?
On Dodapo, my favorite character from Farscape. John is talking to the barman, whose name is Mordil. There's some interesting background about that guy, and just like the actor who plays him, but
that guy's cool looking.
He's really cool looking. He's just like a comically fat, like bulbous, Scottish, gigantic mustache, kind of fez hat.
He looks like a big bagpipe spider.
That's perfect. He does look like a big bagpipe spider. That's a fun little thingy. What is that called when the words are hard to say?
Tongue twister?
That's the one. Thank you. What's that thing with the way? Dargo uses some of his money to buy a Union tattoo, which comes back in one of the best scenes of the episode.
That was great. Yeah,
it's so cute. He's like, me and Shiana are gonna get tattoos to signify our marriage. We love each other. And John kind of has that moment where he's like, I'm not saying she's gonna say no, but like maybe think about it because there's some shit going on.
Mm-hmm.
He just says like be cautious with all
also
that.
Nice relic of Anthony Simcoe's Australian accent in there, because he does Dargo with an American accent, but he says tattoo the Australian way.
Do you want to give it a shot?
Tattoo.
Oh yeah, he does.
I got Chiana in me, this Union tattoo.
Sounds like he's drifting off partway through the word. Yeah. Stark tells Zahn they're going to find a planet where she can recuperate and get planted. The only thing that happens with Stark and Zahn is Zahn has like sticky pus things on her head, and he's going to plant her somewhere. That's kind of what he's saying.
Right.
It's like give her soil to recover. I don't think she makes it. That's my prediction.
Probably not.
She kind of can't. Especially because of all the background stuff we know about, like, hey, they needed to get...
given that, and given how nice a character Zahn is, and given how we're, like, thirsting for a character death that counts.
Yeah, they're going to make that one count. I don't know when, though, so... Exciting. Then there's the dumb woman on the ship named Borlik, who's got, like, cool eyes, and she's kind of the villain of this episode, I guess. She's a member of a cult. I don't know, the Twin Sons of... Oh, no, that's the Twin Sons of Quell is the name of the place. I don't know what the name of the Campex. Yeah, that's the name of the cult. They're just a cult of people that bring a storm onto the planet because they think that the people on the planet are like bad, and so the only interesting thing about
it's because they built on the equivalent of like a space Indian burial ground.
Yeah, it's they're the equivalent of space natives, space indigenous folk. Which considering this show is Australian, that stuff like is clearly rooted in a lot of very interesting and important history.
Maybe. I mean, we don't know Australian history, so that we can't really say.
That's true. I just know that they have in terms of like people building over indigenous society. It was a big thing.
Sure. I mean, that's a big thing here too, but it's true. It's a horror trope of like, Indian burial ground, and so this is kind of like a sacred space place.
Yeah. And they curse them with storms.
Yeah.
Like really violent storms, and then Moya gets stuck on the planet because it's like caught between some garbage, and then they get it out eventually. That's really all. And then that lady has like magnetic power, and she keeps saying Lock Maruka Bay.
Yeah.
which is a fun little phrase.
That scene was cool when she like rose up to the ceiling.
Yeah, but then the moment afterwards, like, oh, now she's stuck. Shit, we can't get to her.
Yeah, that I didn't quite understand. I honestly wasn't paying much attention to those parts because
all that they end up doing with her, all that they end up doing with her is they bring the like pods that carried those two human-like people, the cryogenic tubes, because they have something called hydrohonium steel, and they use that to like unmagnetize her from there, and then they I remember what happens with her. They bring her onto the ship, and then they fucking eject her into space.
Right, so that the storm hits her and not them.
Getting killed by your only thing. It's whatever. She talks about like the cleansing apocalypse and all of that stuff. It's very that trope that you were talking about. Or just like these characters. Mordil is more interesting though. I think he at least has like great lines, and he's kind of the like, I'm just here to do my job, like the bartender character,
right?
Sort of. I'm not trying to offend Gezma, the silly like weird god. He dies though, I believe. Oh, he dies. Yeah, he dies towards the end of the episode. He like dies in Zahn's arms or something.
Something, yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah, I don't know this plot. I also felt that it kind of seemed like they were trying to move towards a new model of Farscape episode. Mm-hmm. What do you think characterizes that new? What does this feel? How does this feel different than what they have done in the past? I guess
that's a very good question. Just from the stuff that I've read in the Illustrated Companion and like what I've seen of the episode, it feels like they're trying to make the plots like heavier, I guess, and have more weight, like kind of like broader consequences, or maybe just like they're trying to say something about the real world, because that's kind of the best sci-fi is when it reflects something interesting about the world that we live in,
right?
Because there's also stuff in this A plot that we didn't even bring up about like there are kids in the vents, and Aaron has to go rescue some kids in some vents.
Yeah, so why I didn't even know why that was happening. Why was that happening?
I don't either, and I don't think it's a disservice to our listeners to say that we didn't get this, because they should have watched the episode. So if we're not able to like summarize everything, it's like you should have also watched the episode.
Sure.
I know that I think the idea was like there were some kids that the religious cult maybe like trapped in there.
Yeah, kidnapped.
It basically gives Aaron a chance to crawl through some vents, and then her and John have a really, really weird scene.
We'll talk about them. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get to them. It's that scene felt really, again, talking about like backpedaling on all their character development. They mentioned that though in the Illustrated Companion. They're like, why did we do this? But we were going for something, and I don't know. What else is there? Okay, yeah, we can get back to let's get back to the plot.
So something I just want to talk a little bit longer about this, the idea of this new kind of A plot. It's weird. I did also feel that they were trying to add a little more heft and trying to drive at something larger, but it's tough with this show because in a show like Star Trek, for example, you can assume that like the goal of the crew is to do good. Yes. That they're going to go to a place and they're going to try to help people and do good. But with Farscape, if they get to a place and there's like big trouble, so if they get here and they're like, our space station is ravaged by religious storms, it's entirely possible that the Farscape crew is just going to say, man, we don't want to be here.
This isn't our business.
We're just going to go. There's nothing in this for us. And so it's hard. I don't know that this show can really sustain like those societal commentary episodes unless you really make overwrought stakes to make sure that they have to stay in one place, like almost arbitrary goings on, I guess. Like, you know, there's a planetary blockade or there's whatever, Moya's not working or something. But what this show does a lot better is more personal drama and personal commentary, I think, like commentary on mental stability and those sorts of issues that other sci-fi shows don't broach as well.
I'm going to hold out a lot of faith that they can do an episode that is a one-off like this and also say something more profound than like don't build on top of indigenous like burial grounds or something. I guess it doesn't even feel like it's a parable. It's not even saying that. Yeah.
I'm not even sure what they're driving at here because they kind of start that interesting discussion that happens in some sci-fi shows of even in a place that's futuristic and has advanced technology, some people still believe in mysticism.
Yeah.
There's still some hold of religion or of belief in something unexplainable. And that's compelling if handled correctly, or you can really Battlestar Galacta it up and kind of tank your show because of that. So it's tricky. But in the course of this episode, they kind of raise that and then immediately say, no, there's an explanation. There's a rational explanation to what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Which is nice insofar as it closes that off. But also, Maldus was magic, right?
Yes.
So there's magic in this show already, which is...
Yeah.
I don't know how much we want to broach that or talk about that, but I guess there's space to think about it. I don't know. But yeah, they throw away the religious stuff pretty quickly, and it just becomes about like fanaticism, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the kid stuff is sort of the missing piece of that puzzle that I never fully got, because according to the wiki, the only thing that introduces that is that Gianna seals a vent and then sees a trapped child through a window, and then Aaron and Crichton just go to look for that child and find way more kids. And it's like, what does that have to do with anything? Why?
Yeah.
Why? I guess they were just like kids trapped on the ship. I don't know. That's another, like, we want our main characters to look like wonderful saviors.
Mm-hmm.
Because we saved some kids. Because this show doesn't have a lot of young children on it. And then when they do, it's just like they are there to exist to be saved and to make everyone else like look really nice.
Right.
And it just, I get like a headache thinking about this A-plot because it's really weird, and I'm okay with Farscape being weird, but I want it to just feel more cohesive.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
And I also want the A and this is like the whole reason you write A and B plots is because you have a lot of characters, but you want all of it to connect back to something. And I don't think that the A and B plot connected in a meaningful way in this episode at all.
Yeah. You want to talk about Aaron and John right now?
Yeah, those crazy horny kids.
Yeah, so I guess Aaron wants them to be like friends with benefits. Is that kind of what's kind of happening?
Yeah, because what was she called? What's her thing? Not Scarin, the other one.
Sebastian.
Sebastian's like can cool down and relax with by having sex. Like that's how they.
Well, they had a system in the military, in the peacekeepers, where people could just have sex to release tension.
Yeah, which reminds me of I think The Way We Weren't, or whatever that episode where she's having sex with her boyfriend and it's like a weird thing. Yeah, so she says that, and then John's like, "No, I don't want to," and you're like, "What? Why? What?" I know we're in the middle of a mission, but like the reluctance to just like be comfortable with each other again.
I think where John's coming from is that he doesn't want it to just be like sex for sex's sake. He wants her to say that she wants to be with him, because he asks her like, "Is this for me or for you?" And then she's like, "It's for both of us." But that kind of she isn't really saying that she loves him, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's a great quote from Ben Browder about that scene. Again, in the illustrated companion that I'll read. It's not in the background info, so a little bit of an exclusive. This is Ben Browder. David Kemper loves the repartee between Crichton and Aaron. Claudia did this great business in the tunnel where they're teasing each other. At the time, though, it puzzled the actors. And then this is Ben saying... Or no, this is Kemper. Neither Andrew, Ben, or I could understand why Aaron offers herself to Crichton after he turns her down. Claudia Black says, "My immediate reaction was that he would say yes," reasons Ben Browder, "but essentially it becomes a bit of a power play. Aaron wants to have her cake and eat it too, and pretend that things aren't as they are. He's hitting the ball back into her court and saying, 'You're going to have to admit you really like me, and then you can have me,'" which is, he gets it. He knows their relationship, which is kind of like nice to hear. And I like that interpretation of that scene. It's John being like, we're not going back to that. Like, we clearly have more than this, and you can't just like make me your sex toy.
Yeah, which I don't know. Like, on one hand, I can understand why Aaron is thinking this way, because she just died.
She just wants to live. Like, she just wants to exist.
Yeah, but at the same time, her coming back to life didn't feel as celebratory as I wanted it to, I guess.
Yeah, I think they need to lean into in an episode sort of like Taking the Stone, where she discovers what is worth living for, the same way that Chiana did. Mm-hmm. I think just one episode like that is what we're going to need, but it should have happened already, I think.
Sure. So, yeah, I guess keep an eye on Aaron and John and see how that develops. Who knows?
Thomas Holsgrove was he was those two characters last episode, and this one he was the bartender.
Yeah.
So he said this was the first time I got to be in the episode and do my voice instead of just doing a voice. That's pretty cool. Do you want to talk about the B plot with Dargo and Chiana?
Let's do it. Yeah. Let's do it. So they're banging in the freezer.
They're banging in the freezer. The first interesting moment with their relationship happens when she leaves, and then he's like, "What if one of these things wakes up?" And she's like, "Just fucking deal with it. You're a child. Why, my God." And you're like, you remember that like Chiana's a little bit more emotionally mature than Joffrey is, and then one of them does wake up, and it comes out, and it's like immediately in the process of dying. He's like, shit, what do I do? And then the guy dies. He's an Interion, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
All he basically tells Jotham is that this is important for upcoming stuff, that's why I bring it up. The Interion tells Jotham that they were on a mission looking for someone. Him and another person got sick, but someone named Jewel found them. He then throws up on Jotham and dies. He like barfs all over him, and then Jotham's like, Chiana, come in here. She's like, get your shit together, boy. Oh my god. Barf. Also, a guy died, and we've heard of someone named Jewel. So I think that's gonna come back. I know that's gonna come back. I shouldn't lie to the listeners.
Jewel.
But yeah, the rest. Jewel State from the actress who plays that one lady on my favorite character on Firefly is the character. Just kidding. The B plot mostly concerns what's his face, Jotham and Chiana having sex, and then the way that they're worrying about getting caught is that they smell really bad.
Well, they just smell like each other.
Mm-hmm. But they smell like you have his scent on you. You have her scent on you. Like, I really think that's kind of cool that the way they're gonna get caught is their bodies and the fact that their odors. That's another very Farscape thing. Instead of like it's not soap opera-y where he like finds them in bed together and he's like, oh, I saw you. It's more just like Dargo using his lux and senses and being played for a fool for a little while. And then does Rigel tell him
about
the two of them being together?
I'm not sure. I think Dargo figures it out,
or he like suspects it, and then maybe Rigel also like brings that up to him. The point is, Rigel or Dargo finds out, and he's not happy. He's not a happy boy whatsoever about this whole thing, and it's really sad. And he sort of suspects things for a while. He has that really terrifying scene where he's like, "Why are you in the same room?" And they're like, "Oh, we're just checking out the freeze pods."
Yeah.
And then they leave, and he says, "Nope, hold on, turn it around, kids. I think you all were in the same room because you were doing the nasty. You have betrayed me." They gotta have this in the quotes. I love this. Oh, they don't. Garbage. Oh my god. There's just the whole thing where Dargo's like, you have betrayed me, the two of you. I thought I loved you. It's a really heartbreaking scene.
Yeah.
And then the moment that brings it all home, maybe the best moment of the episode, Dargo says, you're never getting this tattoo. Tattoo, I'm sorry. You know who is getting it is my son, Burn. And he just fucking brands his son with a Union tattoo. How did you feel during that scene? I was a mess.
I thought the tattoo part was really cool.
It was intense.
Yeah, I thought it was very intense. Yeah, I don't think I could really emotionally invest myself into this plot because I was so already annoyed with it that I was just glad. I was mostly glad that it was resolving so quickly.
Yeah, you're like, oh, phew, all right, taken care of.
Yeah,
and then Jotham leaves.
And I also think that you are probably more invested in Dargo than I am.
Yeah.
Not to say that I don't like him, but I think that you are particularly fond of him.
Yeah, he's up there for me. I care about him doing well.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's something about that archetype of the like buff side guy he's also has a heart of gold and wants to just live a happy farm life. And for these two people to like take that away from him and to like dangle it in front of him and then be like, nope, we actually are just both young people and we want to fuck like rabbits. It hurts. There's just something about that. I also just find like infidelity stuff really difficult to watch. But hey, Jotham's gone for good. I think for good.
For a while, he comes back.
Oh yeah. What is there anything else in the episode? I feel like we actually covered everything in a really roundabout way.
I think we got it all. I can't really think of anything else that I wanted to talk about desperately.
It's an episode of 2 parts, one of which is interesting if you like Dargo, the other one is probably not interesting. But I'd love to hear
Right.
If you, the listener, felt more strongly about the A-plot than we did, and you think that religious stuff had more meat to it than we were able to pull apart, then please let us know, because I'd be interested in that. John, do you want to read the background information for this episode?
I definitely do.
Good.
Wayne Pigram does not appear in this episode.
Okay.
It's just because now he's billed. He's billed.
Was he billed in this episode?
He's always billed now. Now he's in the opening creds.
Oh, that means he's permanently billed. Oh, cool.
As a series regular.
Huh.
You know what else? The title for this episode was partially inspired by D.H. Lawrence's classic story, Sons and Lovers.
Ooh. It's a book from 1913.
Justin Monjo decided he wanted to make Moya's crew run into its own tempest after reading The Perfect Storm.
Yeah, a lot of the background stuff is about him being like, I kind of wanted to do The Perfect Storm. Just felt like doing that.
Mordrill is the first time Thomas Holgrove's actual voice is heard. Hey.
Yep.
I'm not sure what that reference means. Andrew Prowse, Dave L.C. based Mordrill on Les, the foul barman from BBC's Men Behaving Badly. I don't, if out there you've seen that and know what that is, congratulations. Andrew Prowse had to use a handheld camera to get some of the shots he wanted. Cool.
Huh.
DRD One Eye makes a return appearance in this episode. I didn't recognize that.
That was when
that was the
they
one that was
held
sensing the sensing guy.
Yeah, I feel like do they want us to care about that DRD more and be like, oh, One Eye's back? Because I don't remember One Eye. I know there's been DRDs before. I didn't know any of them was that particular one.
Yeah, me neither. One of the children found by Aaron is played by Prowse's daughter, Stella. Stella Prowse.
Stella Prowse.
According to Gigi Edgley, the producers wanted to keep Matt Newton on the show, but the young actor was in great demand and had to depart. Prior to appearing on the show, Anthony Simcoe had briefly taught Newton at NIDA, the Australian Drama School. That's kind of cool.
Oh, hey, that is kind of cool. Your dad taught his son I also didn't know that Anthony Simcoe taught people or was like a teacher.
Yeah, I guess so.
That's awesome.
Theater teaching guy.
I'd love to take a class taught by Anthony Simcoe, like an acting or an improv class or something. Oh my god. I didn't know how much I wanted that until right now.
Yeah. Dargo and Shiana stay split up after this for almost 2 whole years, which is around the same time that Jothi returns.
Wow. So that's probably season 4?
Yeah, or Peacekeeper Wars.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
Jewel is first mentioned here before showing up in the next episode.
Whoops. All right, never mind. I said she'd show up eventually, but whoops.
One of the most repeated phrases from Farscape, quote, "Frill me dead," makes its debut.
We've heard that from fan comments before, and I had never heard it on the show, and I guess that's a thing now.
Yeah,
cool.
It's a thing now. Great. Frill me dead. Well, frail me dead.
Well, frail me dead. There is no good background info in the Illustrated Companion on Sons and Lovers, except for a really weird line from Andrew Prowse about how he actually liked the Jothi-Chiana relationship and thought it was good. I also think I thought that relationship between Jothi and Chiana really worked, being scary and fraught with danger. It was almost Romeo and Juliet-ish, with them in an environment that could have killed them, and I think the actors pulled it off really well. I disagree with you, Mr. Prowse.
Whatever.
Yeah. I don't think they have enough chemistry to justify that, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah, I agree.
And that is Sons and Lovers.
It sure is.
Hey, Magellan.
Yeah.
I love the prompt of Hey Magellan. It's one of my favorites. This ship has a course, and it's only got one direction it can go. And that is from the episode Commerce Planet to Planet Netflix.
Peow bop. Boo-doo-doo-da-da-da-da.
Here on Planet Netflix, while we stop and take a rest for some sucker and relaxation. No one ever uses sucker that way. That's a good word, though.
It is a good word if you know how it's being spelled.
Yes, that's true. That's extremely true. We have a 2-parter next week. And John, would you like to read us on this? Some random dude came up to us on Planet Netflix and was like, "Hey, here's the notes." And I looked at it, and I think it just looks like an episode summary for the next 2 episodes that we're going to discuss next week on ScapeChatz.
I'll just read it.
Oh,
great.
Please do.
And here I'm doing it right now. The first episode is Season 3, Episode 3, Self-Inflicted Wounds, Part 1, Coulda, Woulda, Shoulda. While searching for a planet to heal the Zon...
These writers haven't watched the show.
While searching for a planet to heal Zon, Moya collides and fuses with a small spacecraft, trapping both ships in a series of looping wormholes.
That's what I'm looking for.
Fuck.
That sounds fun.
And then Season 3, Episode 4, Self-Inflicted Wounds, Part 2, and the subtitle of that is, loading, Wait for the Wheel. Okay.
All right.
Nyala's crew has been sabotaging Moya and hastening her disintegration. Crichton and the crew battle the saboteurs and a deadly alien serpent.
I swear sometimes this show's summaries read like parody of itself.
Yeah.
That usually means that the episode will be interesting, though. And so, according to the background info, Jewel is in this episode. So, hey, new character.
Yeah, this sounds pretty awesome.
Have you heard good things about this one?
I haven't heard anything, really.
Exciting. You can... Let's do some housekeeping, actually.
Please do.
Because Pilot wants us to clean the space up before we give it back. Yeah.
If you don't clean the space, Maya will die.
That's fair, Pilot. I know she is a what is it? Hydrochloriac? That's not the word. Hypochondriac. Thank you.
Hydrochloriac.
Let's take it home. Housekeeping. You can email us questions, comments, concerns at scapechats@gmail.com. You can tweet at ScapeChatz for all sorts of questions and little jokes that I like to make on there. You can follow me at Alan Ibrahim on Twitter, ALLENIBRAHIM, and that is where all of my stuff is. We have a Reddit thread, reddit.com/r/Farscape, where every week we put up a thread where people can discuss the episode, and then some people get mad that we do it every week. Too bad. Magellan, where can you be found on the internet?
Oh, you can find me at twitter.com/justafluke. You can also check out my webcomic that I will definitely update again one day, called The Platonic Solids at theplatonicsolidscomic.tumblr.com. And if you want to hear my voice on another voice box show, you can listen to Stanford Improv Radio Hour, where I do improv, and it's an hour.
And it's at Stanford. Is there a new episode of that going up soon?
In a couple weeks, pretty soon,
Ooh,
once the summer starts and classes are donezo.
Rock and roll. And then I guess, if we're going to plug our own podcast, I'm also on Fireside Friends, a very fun pop culture podcast, which you can find at firesidefriends.simplecast.fm.
Yay.
Friendly Dead, Magellan. I think that has been another episode of ScapeChatz.
It sure Frellin has, you...
Frell.
You Frell.
You Frell? Let's get the Frell out of here. I did it! I came up with an ending! It's let's get the Frell out of here! Oh my god, it's so good!